Welcome to Exploring A Course in Miracles Shorts, where Robert and I take you into course scribe Helen Schucman's original notebooks and through material that has been restored in the Complete and Annotated Edition of A Course in Miracles. In this episode, we're still on the third page of Helen's notebooks, and as we discussed in the last video, Jesus keeps trying to get Helen to pay attention to his teachings, and she keeps getting distracted. And where we left off is that he has finally gotten her attention, and she says, "I am now," meaning she has at last agreed to focus. So Robert, you can pick us up from there.
Okay, so let me show the notebook page here.
He's put in a lot of work getting her to focus, hasn't he?
Yeah. So he says, I told you to reread them, the early miracle principles, and you did not. And then, as you said, she says, I am now. And so it's taken him a long time to get her to do that. And then he kind of finishes up this whole process. He says, do not feel guilty about the fact that you are doubting this. So she's doubting this whole process. And he says, don't feel guilty about that. Just reread them. Yet another admonition to reread the principles, and their truth will come to you. I love you, and I am not afraid or embarrassed or doubtful. My strength will support you, so don't worry and leave the rest to me. I think that's a beautiful paragraph, because here she is, she's both fascinated by the process. That was the source of many of her distractions, was she was thinking about the process. Is this a miracle? Is this cute? I should tell Bill about this. And she's also doubting it. And in the midst of all that, he basically says, don't feel bad if you're doubting this and doubting the principles. Just reread them, and through the act of rereading them, their truth will come to you. So he's saying to her, you have just this little part to do, and it will lead to the rest. And then he brings in himself. He says quite openly he loves her. She, he says, has been embarrassed by her love. And then he says, I am not afraid or embarrassed or doubtful. All the things that he's been talking about in her, he is free of. And so because he stands outside those things, because he loves her and is not embarrassed by his love for her, she can just lean on him and leave the rest to him, which is, I think, such great guidance for every Course in Miracles student.
And again, it just speaks to him as a teacher and how caring and gentle he is, and all of the great pains he takes to not only make sure that she focuses, but that she's not afraid of him in the process, which could be very easy to do given what associations we have with Jesus.
Right. He comes off as a truly gentle and caring teacher, but also as a teacher, because he keeps saying, reread the teachings I'm giving you. But that's couched within this message of, that's all you have to do. And if you just do that, their truth will come to you, and my strength will support you.
And I love you.
Yeah.
He says that. It's very sweet.
Yeah, it is really sweet, especially after him talking about how she was embarrassed by her love.
And then, of course, she wants to tell Bill, as
Right.
we covered in the last video.
So he says, do not run to Bill to tell him. There will be time, but don't disrupt things. I'll arrange the schedule. You have a lot to do today. Get dressed, or you will be late. Obviously, it's the morning. We've always heard that the course started coming through on an evening, but this is the morning time before work, clearly. What I find interesting is he's been trying to get her to focus on this process he's taking her through of rereading the principles. And now there's this clear shifting of gears, and now he's trying to get
her to go.
He's trying to get her in a new process, one that he'll also take her through. And that is getting into her workday and going through her schedule. So you might think those two processes, she's taking down his teachings, she's supposed to reread them, and then she's got a work day with a whole schedule. We might see those as very different and maybe in friction with each other. Like maybe she should stay with this momentous occurrence of taking down A Course in Miracles, whatever that is.
Wouldn't you want to stay
Well,
there?
yeah, you'd think, I can go in late to
Like,
work
sorry,
today.
it's a work day. Gotta go.
And then what's interesting,
happening, but I'll be late for work.
right. That's what one would be thinking. But then essentially he shifts gears and now he's ready to take her through her workday.
Yeah,
Really
and
interesting.
truly. And Robert, what do you make of that line that I'm sure has captured the attention of many? I'll arrange the schedule. What does that mean? Apart from the obvious, but what does that say about his ability to arrange the schedule of our lives?
Well, yeah, I mean, the Course in different ways applies that in different places to everybody. We're supposed to let Jesus and the Holy Spirit arrange the schedule for us every day. And that means mostly, how we prioritize things, what things we attend to. But I think there's also a sense of he'll be arranging events behind the scenes as well.
Mm-hmm. And so when he says, my strength will support you, so don't worry and leave the rest to me, it sort of fits into that, doesn't it? Where if she leans on him, he'll arrange the schedule and she can go on with her day while also having time to do what she needs to do in the process with him.
Yeah, I think as I'm looking at these two paragraphs, I'm seeing new meaning in them. They're kind of like a perfect integration of the sacred and the mundane. The first one represents the sacred. She's going through this process where supposedly Jesus is teaching her and taking her through a process of rereading his teachings. And then there's the mundane. She's got a work day, she's got a schedule. And yet with both, the same thing is going on. He's saying, I'll take you through this in the midst of her having distractions.
Mm-hmm.
So in both the sacred and the mundane, she's distracted, and Jesus is saying, I'll take you through the process.
Yeah, and I'm reminded of a class that we did recently on the section I Need Do Nothing, where it talks about the quiet center from which we do our busy doings. And I've always loved that because, as you're saying, it speaks to these two elements. We have the quiet center, we have our connection, we're leaning on Jesus and God and the Holy Spirit while we're out in the world doing things. And right here at the beginning of Helen's notebooks, he expresses an appreciation for the fact that both of these things are going on. So he's not telling her to withdraw from the world, to retreat from the world. He's saying, go into the world and I'll help you. My strength will support you.
Right. And he's just as focused in that process, and she's just as distracted in that process as in the other process.
I know. He even tells her, get dressed or you're going to be late.
Yeah. Yeah.
Robert, is there anything else that you want to say about this before we close?
I think that's about it.
Okay, so here we are at the end of page 3, and in our next Course Shorts video, we will continue through Helen's notebooks onto page 4. So Robert, thank you. See you next time.